podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?
Well, greetings, assisters. I'm Sam, and yes, that's right. Sadly, no Tom this week. As many of you know, this was always likely to happen around this time, with Tom and his family expecting another baby. I'm delighted to say that all is well with the entire family, and he's looking forward to joining us again next week in full. Although no fears this week either, as he sent us a couple of voice notes, which we will be splicing in throughout the show. And don't worry at all, you won't have to listen to me drone on for 90 minutes, as I am joined by the fantastic Mo, otherwise known as Trophy FPL, who is an absolute delight to talk to. I've had many conversations with you in person and online, and offers brilliant insight into FPL. So don't worry, it won't be a downgrade to usual standards, I promise. With that in mind, welcome, Mo. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. And thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be on here.
No, mate, the pleasure is all ours, and I'm sure the listeners will agree. And of course, we'll have Tom back next week to cast judgment on how I did with that intro. I'm sure he'll have some notes on how I can improve for next time. In the meantime, though, back to what I usually have to do, which is today's agenda. We are Who Got the Assist. On today's agenda, we're going to do a quick game week review featuring Tom's voice note as well for game week 35, and have a chat about how we're getting on so far this year. Obviously, a bit more about you on that one, Mo, because it's first time on the pod, so we have to work out how you've been getting on and all of the trials and tribulations there, before then moving into the preview for the double and the assets for City and Palace, obviously the final double game week of the season. Are there any interesting assets to pick from Palace? Of course, most of us have triple City anyway, but could there be a little bit of moving around the City assets worth doing ahead of the double? Before also talking about, and probably for the final time this season, a bit on chips. Given that bench boost and triple captaincy will be popular this week, we've had a look at what kind of numbers we're expecting for the chip usage. One of us on this pod might be chip active this week as well, so that'll be interesting to talk about, and just how worried those of us without chips should be looking at the data, before then moving into the standard form versus fixtures, any other players on the radar basically for the final 3 weeks ahead. Then on to 1 week punts. Wonder who Tom and I might have picked in that one, followed by best captaincy, and could be an interesting chat. Maybe one of us wants to chase, do something a little bit different. And obviously, if you're out there looking for someone slightly different to the big Norwegian centre forward, then that could be the chat for you. Before finally, what I imagine will be a slightly more extended version of our teams and transfer plans ahead of game week 36, again featuring one of Tom's lovely voice notes. I've got 3 free transfers. I imagine Tom's got 3 free transfers. Would you have a couple as well, Mo? I'm assuming.
2, yeah.
Two?
Yeah, 2.
That's perfect. So we've got plenty to talk about there. I think that will be an extended section, as the previous 2 might be a bit shorter than usual. It is Tuesday, the 5th of May. Game week 35 is in the books. And of course, we've got Arsenal going on in the background in the Champions League. So by the end of the pod, we're going to have a bit more information on Arsenal and which players we might be interested in there. First up, though, I think we probably need to talk about game week 35. I can kick off because usually Tom's the one who kicks off, and we're not going to just dive straight in with a voice note. We've all got quite similar teams, though. I got 55 points, and I believe there's only one difference between my team and yours, Mo. I started Hill in my back line for 10 points. The rest of it didn't seem like it was going too badly to begin with, but there were a lot of high-scoring players that I just didn't happen to own. Gabriel got 6, Fernandez with 5, although I didn't captain him. Haaland with 7, double to 14, and then João Pedro and Calvert-Lewin both bagging goals, giving goals to all of my forwards for what I can only imagine is the first time this season, because I don't feel like I've been that fortunate there. But Palmer, Semenyo, O'Reilly, and then the Leeds defence, a bit disappointing. A very small red arrow of about 3 or 4K. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But it was a game week of very marginal calls, wasn't it? Because it was a bit of a 50-50 between Tavernier and Hill, or another Bournemouth defender. You went with the other side of it. Do you want to walk through how your game week for 35 went?
So not the best game week, but like you said, small margins, because I went Tavernier instead of Hill. And that's probably something maybe I've done a bit too much this season, where we know with defensive contributions, how it's probably changed FPL this season. I still favoured an attacker. And it was quite painful, Sam, where Tavernier, Bournemouth got the penalty. So I was thinking, oh, hello, we're in business here, because in theory, they were sharing the penalties, but that doesn't look like it to me. It looks like Krupi's just taking them. So that was quite frustrating there. That would have actually made it par, basically, whether I played Hill or not. The only other it's not frustration, because I was adamant on the move. I sold Senesi, who was a huge returner. I sold him for Gabriel. I don't regret it. Gabriel's just an absolute animal this season. I had to fix that quickly. But it's just a shame. The player, I don't think, would I have started him? I'm not even sure, to be honest. Or maybe it's still the right move, I think, even, with the hindsight, the high score. Apart from that, the Leeds double defense was frustrating, considering it was our defender that made the error. Now, as well, it was looking like a sure thing. A double clean sheet to start the game week would have been gorgeous. Unfortunately, that it wasn't to be. And the only other frustrating part, apart from Semenyo, which we'll talk more about him later on, is Palmer.
Yeah.
Palmer.
Oh, tell me about it.
I mean, a penalty, we get gifted 10 points right there, Sam, or 8 points, whatever it is, and nothing. In fact, we get a minus from it. So
yeah, it's a huge swing, mate. That would have been the difference for both of us between a green and a red, I think.
Yes, and when you consider that position that we had there, a lot of people that don't have him have probably already gone Saka, who done the business. So it was like it was quite a, double whammy. It was really painful to see the replacement, because I was considering it the game week before, because I had a transfer and I thought, no, come on, surely Stamford Bridge, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest. I did not expect that. I did not expect that at all. Especially when I saw the lineup. I don't know about you, Sam.
Mate. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I thought, I was counting my points ready to go when I saw that lineup. And then after, what was it, like 90 seconds, Awoniyi at the back post, just hurling one in straight away. Oh, it was never meant to be. But yeah, I mean, that wait for the penalty as well can't be helpful. There was a good 10-minute wait, wasn't it?
It was a horrible injury.
Good data on that the longer you wait, the less likely you are to actually bury it. So yeah, I do feel obviously sorry for Derry, but I'm sorry for Palmer as well, having to wait that long. And sorry for all of us as owners for waiting all that time for a miss as well. But
it sums him up this season.
Yeah, it is. It really does. He can't catch a break at the moment.
Nah.
And the swing is massive between Saka and him. I was very similar to you. Thought, you know what? I'll hold off another week. Nottingham Forest's a decent game. They might rotate a little bit. Obviously, they didn't work out. And I wasn't confident on Saka's minutes. And actually, Saka's minutes were pretty poor. Nottingham Forest did rotate, and Palmer did get the penalty. It's just all of those things didn't actually work out the way that they should have.
Exactly.
James in the chat as well mentioning 6 missed penalties so far this season. I reckon I'm on 6 as well. I don't know if you can cast your mind all the way back to the start of the year. There was like a horrific run of popular penalty takers. Did you catch the majority of those as well?
Knowing how my season's gone, Sam, I'm probably 100%. I've got all the penalty misses. Honestly, I've not gone back, because I don't think mentally I could even handle seeing how many penalties I've missed. But I got a feeling I've got all of them, Sam. Yeah, I've got a feeling I've got all of them.
I think we can confidently say that we've got the worst of it this year. Hopefully, if we did it again next year, or did it 1,000 times, we wouldn't get that much bad luck with penalties. More often than not, they do end up going in the back of the net. But maybe it's for the best that Tav didn't take the penalty. You could have got another miss on your radar there. That would have been an absolute...
That would have been so brutal. I mean, I don't think I've had... When's the last time I've had... There was a season, this is going way back. I think I had 3 red cards back to back. I think I had that. That was astonishing. I had that, and I was like, wow. But double penalty miss would be special. Yeah, that would be. That wouldn't be great.
I think 3 red cards in a row is worse so because then you've also got to deal with the suspension as well
Exactly.
afterwards.
Yeah.
I
had
did
that
get
before.
Asensio's double pen miss last season on my bench boost, as did Tom. So yeah, these mad coincidences do happen, unfortunately, more often than not on this pod. But alas. Anyway, our 2 game weeks were nothing compared to my co-host, who was celebrating for a multitude of reasons this week. Tom scored 61 points, so better than both of us, 6 points better off than me. And Tom has kindly voice noted us to share in the celebration. So we're going to mute ourselves quickly, and I'm really hoping that this works as it did in the pre-recording.
Hi everyone, Tom here. It's weird to not be on the pod today. I keep thinking, we've got to go on soon. But yeah, I've got to look after the newborn. Should be back on next week, but I think it's just a little bit too early. Thank you for all the kind words on social media. And yeah, mum and baby are doing very well, and I'm adjusting to having 2 children, which is very, very odd. But yeah, FPL wise, a good week for me, 61 overall. And the main reason for that was playing Senesi over Hill, just kind of chasing the goal and assists kind of possibilities of him over Hill. And I was rewarded with a Stonewall penalty, which got me the 14 points from Senesi. But yeah, overall, kind of, pretty much that's the only difference in my team versus most wildcard 32 setups. And it was a butterfly effect from all those weeks ago, isn't it? Where I think Sam beat me a little bit because he had Strauch on the bench boost week, but then this week I've got the points that have got me a small green arrow. I think it's like 2 above safety. So yeah, 61 overall, same players as Sam pretty much returning, and I think up to 35k, which is really good. I think kind of hopefully that's kind of hopefully top 100k assured now, and it's just a case of trying to hopefully stay in at 50k and maybe even push on, and we'll see what we do about that with my moves next week. So I rolled, so up to 3 free transfers, and see what happens next. But yeah, a good week.
Yeah, I'll say that is a very good week. 61 points from him, up to 35k, like he correctly said. I bet he's buzzing for multiple reasons. And I will say as well, he's a very pessimistic manager. 100k he was mentioning there. There's no way he's finishing out of 100k now. He's surely got to be looking up towards 25k at this point. Just keep pushing, mate. You've got this. You agree with that?
Very good season. Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. I think Tom's having a great season, and he's been very modest, let's just say, with the 100k. I think, like you said, if I was in his position, I will be looking forwards. That's what I will be doing. He's in a great position. Team's healthy, apart from Palmer, but I think he's in a really good place, and hopefully he pushes on. Let's see if he has 3 green arrows. Who knows where he could finish? But yeah, he's in good shape.
Yeah, completely agree. And well done, Tom. I'm sure you'll be listening back to this. And we're both delighted with how you're doing. And I'm not jealous at all, I promise. On to the game week at hand, because we can't just talk about game week 35 the whole hour and a half. Double game week 36. It's the final double of the season, obviously involving Man City, who are very well owned anyway. We will have a word on them in a moment. But I think the main topic of discussion has to understandably be around the Palace players and whether or not they're even worth buying at this point. So I've pulled together some of the data from my own channel. I just thought I'd cross-pollinate it, save myself some time. I've divided it into the defensive assets on the top half of the screen, and then a few of the options in attack. Probably not all of the options one might consider. You might look at someone like Johnson, for instance, but these have been the more popular picks. I think to begin with, shall we talk about Palace generally before having a look at each player in isolation? How are you currently feeling about Palace? Do you think it's just full rotation, worrying only about Europe at this point, or are they at least going to put out a half decent side in 1 or 2 of these games?
So I've been thinking about this actually, and Palace situation and Glasner obviously leaving. He's going to want to leave with that European trophy, so he's put the emphasis there. I think Palace are pretty safe in the Premier League, not much to play for. So why wouldn't you fully commit? Now, does that mean he's going to rotate like we've seen recently for the remainder of the fixtures? I'm not quite sure you can do that. The players need to turn up to the final if they get there. It looks like they're going to get there. Match sharp. You can't just have 3-week holiday and turn up thinking it don't work like that. In fact, the best teams is normally when they've got momentum, they're playing every 3 days and they're super sharp. So I think the Everton game straight after this week's game is in danger, Sam. I think that
Yeah.
there could be rotation after that. I think the fixtures is at City, which is not the easiest fixture. I think there he has to revert back to near full strength.
I agree. Yeah.
Whether he starts chopping them down a bit, maybe 80, 75th minute, Sam. But I refuse to believe it's going to be this random team we've seen recently for the last 3 weeks. How does that work? And just turn up in the final and play your best 11? Nah. So I think the Everton game, a bit of a risk. And then after that, I think you'll see a settled 11, maybe coming off a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
The other thing I should add, Sam, I'm not sure if you agree with this, is players, whether, maybe there's a narrative I'm just painting here, they know the biggest game is around the corner. Does that mean you little 5% drop, 10% drop just so you don't get injured in the Premier League? I mean, that might not happen. The manager might see it and nip it in the bud, but it's possible for that to creep in. You wouldn't want to get injured against a game that's pointless in the Premier League and miss the biggest game. Like, so it's going to be a huge game. So that's my take. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I fully agree. I think when you look at the turnaround time between the Thursday game, which is obviously huge, one of the biggest games in the club's history, and then they go into the Sunday kickoff against Everton with almost no real need to pick up points against them. I mean, they're not technically safe in the Premier League, I don't think, but they might as well be. And I think that is the game that we're all interested in. If we knew that Palace players were definitely starting at home to Everton, if it was, let's say, an Ismail Assar or one of Mateta, Strand Larsen, and you could confidently predict who it was going to be, then all of a sudden they become much more appealing, even if they only get 60 minutes against Man City. However, you would imagine they play the majority of the game on Thursday, depending on game state. And I will leave that as the caveat because who knows? They could be 3-0 up after 45 minutes on Thursday, take off Sarr, Mateta, Munoz as well. And then all of a sudden we're changing our tune and we're saying, okay, well, they can play again in a few days' time. Not a problem. And they're both home games as well in Europe and then Everton. So they don't have to worry about the travel. So that's the one little thing in the back of my mind. However, I think the general thinking right now, which I completely agree with, is Everton is just going to be heavy rotation before then, like you say, reverting back to resembling their strongest 11 for Man City. And then probably also similar for the game after that as well in 37, just to make sure that they've got that rhythm. They're fully sharp, they're fully match fit. And then completely agree with what you say, bring them off early with 20 minutes to go. If any of them are carrying any doubts, if there's any risk to a player, then that's when the second 11 come in and save them at that point. But that does probably put you off of a lot of these options, especially in the attacking positions, because we've seen already with Sarr and Mateta, I think both of them have missed out on starting 3 of the last 4 Premier League games.
Yeah.
So what's to say they couldn't do that against Everton? In fact, I'd say it's likely they do. And then do you really want them just for the Man City away game with some appearance points off the bench against Everton? Is it in any way interesting for you to look at the attacking options for Crystal Palace at the moment?
I mean, if we look at the recent game, Manchester City last night, in fact, against Everton, they can be got at. They can be got at. And Crystal Palace, to be fair, I think they've got a decent record against City. I'm sure they've caused them problems historically, but if Crystal Palace do turn up and they're on it, they can get something at City. But obviously, we're trying our best to attack the Everton fixture, which looks much more better than the City fixture, who are still chasing the Premier League. So an attacker, I would love to have confidence in Sarr. I think when the double game week was emerging, I think a lot of us started eyeing up Sarr. Good price, midfield position is available, especially for people like us that have got Palmer and whatnot, or Tavernier maybe. So the money's there, everything's there. It's just, do we really want him if we're going to get, 45 minutes and say 60 minutes or 70 minutes, and the 70 minutes is against Manchester City? I'm not quite sure. Is it worth the transfer as well, Sam? When you add, we need to put players in, and if we're definitely starting, it's definitely worth the transfer. But if they're not, so the attack for me is looking very difficult. Because when I was looking at this double game week, Sam, I did think not just Sarr, I was actually hoping someone like Mateta could emerge, because I've got João Pedro, we've got that position we could fill, or DCL, because we've got similar teams. We've got spaces available to bring some of these double game week players in. Now, as it comes closer, the question you asked me regarding the attack, I'm probably, as of now, Sam, probably going to stay away from it completely, which
Yeah.
sounds really boring. It's a double game week. We love double game weeks, but I don't know. What about you? What do you think with attackers?
Unfortunately, I'm kind of landing in the exact same school of thinking as you, where I just don't trust them enough. And if it's one thing to say, oh, I back them to start one of the two in the double, they'll probably get 20 minutes off the bench in the other. That in itself could be enough. That is potentially the upside that you're chasing. Like you say, I share your thinking that Man City can be got at, especially someone like Ismail Assar against that high line, could get in behind 70 minutes against them, could work out quite nicely with some appearance points off the bench against Everton. But like you say, the transfers are really precious right now. I've got 5 before the season ends. So I've got 3 now and 2 in the remaining 2 game weeks. You've got 4 left. Tom's got 5 left. So each of them needs to be an effective move that grants plenty of upside, but also locks you into a player probably for the rest of the season. So if you go with someone like Sarr or Mateta now, it's quite difficult to hide one of those players on your bench because they're relatively expensive compared to 4.0 defenders or whatever. And those midfield and attacking spots are quite valuable at this point. There's more upside to be chased with other players. So if I'm committing to one transfer with these two, with any attacker for Palace, I'm almost half penciling in a second transfer. So that's almost half of my remaining transfers gone on just this double game week move for an attacker, when we don't even know the minutes this week are going to be that good either. So I think that makes it quite difficult to go there. If you've got 5 free transfers right now, you could probably have a swing at it. But I'm with you. I'm not sure it's worth it unless we see one of them come off after 60 minutes on Thursday, and it looks much more likely that they're all of a sudden going to start against Everton. But even the Everton to Man City turnarounds pretty quick as well. So it's quite difficult to say any of them will. I do think the defensive options are a slightly different story. What do you currently think with Palace defenders? Is it worth a bit more going into those at all? Are any on your mind at the moment?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned a very valid point. So the attack would be more difficult to hide in our teams, where
Yeah.
defensively, this is it's a big plus. We can probably risk 1, maybe 2, knowing if it does go very badly wrong, all our other defenders play because of what you said, the
Yeah.
price points, the defenders, whether it's a Leeds or a Hill, for example, look at the value Hill's been this season. It's not the end of the world to start him, regardless of the opponents. So I agree with you. You could go there with a bit more confidence. If that spot does become a dead spot or a liability, we could bench them. So the defense still appeals to me, unlike the attack. Now, when the first double game weeks, when it first emerged, I was getting very excited. Players like Munoz, Sam, we love him in FPL. I mean, I know DevCon has changed the scene a little bit. We're all buying centre backs that just boot the ball out the stadium, but I still love Munoz. The potential is there, Sam.
It is.
It really is, and it gives you, even if you concede, he's someone that can still give you a return on the 80th minute. It makes the game. That's what FPL was brought in for. You could still watch the game with a bit of hope. All right. So I liked him, but even his minutes have worried me a little bit. And has he so vital for this team, especially for the final?
Yeah.
Is it really a problem? So he's the first one I was thinking of instantaneously. Okay. And then after that, I like Lacroix. And I think, am I right in saying, Sam, his minutes are still very good, even during this period?
Yeah, I mean, they've been flawless for, well, the whole season, really. Even during the rotation period that we've seen in the last few game weeks, even someone like Richards has had a rest. Munoz and Mitchell shared 45 minutes each over the weekend. Yeah. Lacroix still just 90 played through. Now, some people are worried that, okay, Richards has had his rest. Mitchell and Munoz have had a few minutes shared. Does that now mean Lacroix and Canvo are due the rest? Which I get. Like, I can't say I'm not slightly worried, but I think we've got to look at the data so far. We can't get tied up in knots worrying about who might get the upcoming rest when Lacroix and Canvo recently, at least, since
Yeah.
Gabe left, their minutes have been absolutely ironclad, just secure, locked in 90 minutes a week. What do you think? Do you think that continues against Everton, even if they do go the full length on Thursday night as well? Do you still see them as relatively comfortable to play both in the double?
I'm not going to sit on the fence. I'm going to say I think they're going to be okay, Sam. Even
Yeah,
though what
okay.
you said is a small percentage at the back of my mind. What if it is their turn
Yeah.
in the Everton fixture? I mean, what can we do with that? I mean, it's impossible. We're reaching the realms of second guessing ourselves. And I think, especially, is it Canvo? How do you pronounce his name? Am
I
saying
think
it
it's
right?
Canvo. Someone in the chat will
Canvo?
probably correct me at
Someone
some
will
point. I
correct
think
me.
it's Canvo, yeah.
So at that price point, I think, and look at his data, his defensive contribution
know.
for 90. Looks gorgeous. At that price point, is it really, especially especially you with free transfers, is it? I think it's worthwhile risk. Even if you get hurt and you miss one game, then you've got one game like any other defender. I mean, it's not great, I know, but that's how I'm preparing myself mentally. I like Lacroix and Canvo. I like both of them. Richard's price point is nice for me because I don't have big budget or team value. And maybe I should look at it like you said, he's had his rest and now he's going to be back in.
Yeah.
But it does worry me a little bit. It's just the bias of the recent benching, you know.
And it's 3 games
really
in 6 days.
Sorry,
That's
Sam, Karen.
no, sorry. I was just saying it's 3 games in 6 days. So Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday, I think. But yeah, arguably, like you say, he's had his rest. So 4.4 million, he's got a good DEFCON hit rate, might be a pretty secure way in as well. I don't think there's much between any of the centre backs. It's just trying to read the tea leaves on who it is that actually might get a rest in the midweek.
So if I asked you, Sam, who are your favourites then, Sam? If I asked you to order, who would you go for if you were going to pick 2 from the defence?
Yeah, I mean, right now, the 2 that I am most interested in are Lacroix and Canvo, mainly because of price point, because I've not got a ton in the bank. I've only got 0.4. And some of the moves that I'm considering, it would leave me quite tight on getting to other Arsenal players for the following week if I went for Munoz. Now, that's not to say I don't really like Munoz, because I kind of do think that he is a bit of a machine like Lacroix. His minutes, barring the injury in mid-season, have been very secure up until the 45 minutes over the weekend. But that seems like just gearing him up, making sure he's good to go for Thursday. And I think if I saw Munoz come off at 65, 70-ish minutes on Thursday with the game tied up, all of a sudden he probably goes right to the top of my list. The only reason that Lacroix and Canvo are ahead of him right now are, well, price, because they're a bit cheaper, but also without that information of Thursday, I would predict them to have the best expected minutes across the double. But that could change after Thursday once we've seen how that match actually pans out. And then all of a sudden, Munoz, who's actually pretty differential at the moment, he's not going to have massive ownership, probably something like 20% at most. That could be a huge upside chasing move with someone who is capable of scoring a couple across a double game week. It is possible. So I really like that. Go on then. I've ranked mine at the moment. Where are you ranking your Palace players right now?
I'm going to be very boring and I'm not even going to mention Munoz. I'm going to go Lacroix, Canvo and Richards.
Richards, nice. Okay.
I think those 3 centre-backs, centre-backs, the position, they don't have to exert themselves as much as someone like Munoz. The up and down he has to do and how vital he is to that team. Where I think the centre backs, I think they can play that rigorous, like you said, every 3 days. I think they'll be okay. And I'm making an assumption they're gonna give me the minutes. Where with Munoz, I'm not so sure, as I said.
Yeah,
but I do agree with you for chasing. I think it's a gorgeous move.
Yeah. Completely agree. And yeah, I suppose right now we are just waiting for Thursday. If a player gets a surprise rest after 60 minutes, they might go top of the pile. But right now, I agree. Lacroix, Canvo, Richards. If you had to put money on who's going to play 180 minutes across the double, and of course they've all got good DEFCON hit rates, so their floor is quite high. Even if they concede 2 against Man City, you're looking at a 3-pointer there, and Everton could be 4. Maybe even higher if they keep the clean sheet as well. So then you're looking at players on 7+ points across the double, and that's a great defender to own. And especially with Richards and Canvo, they're cheap enough to hold on your bench for the remainder of the season if you wanted to. So yeah, I mean, okay, before we move on actually, and we should move on to City, would you be interested in double Crystal Palace defense at the moment, or would you be more just keep it simple, go one and then leave it at that?
I think in my situation, I've got 2 free transfers and I've got
Mm,
not massive issues, but I do have some issues in my team. And you touched on something earlier on. There's that game we have to think about Arsenal versus Burnley, which the
mm,
potential is that it's ridiculous. You saw what they done to Fulham. Arsenal can turn up. We know we look at them as a defensive team, but they know there's a goal difference at it. And Burnley, you cannot pluck a better fixture than that. So the point I'm getting at, if I use 2 transfers to get Palace defenders in, I would like to maybe use those 2 transfers for Arsenal players. And I think you're
yeah,
going to gain, I think we're going to gain more. We've seen that we're live, obviously, during the Arsenal game. I've seen Saka scored, Sam. So
yeah,
already back. So that's an example. We might want, I mean, can we go into Burnley without Saka in our team? Oh,
yeah.
you know? So things like that are going through my mind. And if I do 2 Crystal Palace, which normally I love a double game week, I'm one of the managers
Mm.
that will be like, I'm very calm. I'm not going to put many Crystal Palace players in. Come deadline, I'm fully free Crystal Palace players are in my team. But I
Sarah
do think
Mateta
this
straight in.
straight in, yeah, for all of what I'm saying, all the risks, they're all in. But I actually think at the moment, I'm on probably 1 Palace. We're going to talk more about our teams in more detail after. But for now, if you pushed me, I think I'm 1 Palace defender, Sam. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm the same as you. If I had 4, maybe 5 free transfers, I'd be tempted to double up and just go for it. With 3, I know you've got 2, but even with 3, I think that the opportunity cost where every transfer I'm using on a Palace defender or Palace player generally is a 1 less Arsenal player I might get, or 1 less move to chase the upside in game week 38. Yeah, it feels like I could probably guess 1 Palace player to start both, but getting both right seems quite difficult. So I think for the moment I'm on 1, just like you, and then it'll just come down to which one I back to get the minutes across the double. They're not the only team that double though, and I don't have a graphic prepared for this because we've all got 2 of the 3
Yeah.
named City players. I think Haaland and O'Reilly are going nowhere for the majority of people, and anyone who doesn't own them by now will either have just made peace with it, they're going against Haaland for differential reasons, or they're planning on getting to someone like O'Reilly or Haaland this week especially. The third pick, though, is much more interesting, in my personal opinion. We've both got Semenyo. In fact, Tom's got Semenyo as well. Obviously, he's got very high effective ownership, but Cherky's ownership is rising. Doku has put his hand up as well in recent game weeks, and his minutes are looking quite good all of a sudden. Where do you see it right now? Do you think Semenyo's still a viable option, or are you panicking a little bit on him, thinking maybe we've picked the wrong player in that midfield spot?
So I was starting to get a little bit worried. There was rumors before that he even might miss the Everton game. And I started to think, oh, wow, this
Yeah.
is not great here. You know, we've wildcarded, we've kept him in our team. And all of a sudden, Cherky's the flavor of the month. He's looking good. His data's looking good as well. It supports it. And I was thinking, have we? But seeing his performance against Everton and just reading some of the stuff in the Man City forums, it's looking like to me he's still good. I don't think there's a big issue. As in minutes, I don't think he's going to vanish. We know, I don't know about you, Sam. I tend to find with Pep, 1 minute you're everything and you can vanish in that team. So Phil Foden is yes, of course, it's probably regarding performances. He doesn't just bench them for no reason. But Foden vanished. Reinders, Sam, at one stage, I think we all owned it. Vanished, gone. Even yesterday, I think he bought on who didn't look match fit, Kovacic. Reinders sitting there. And I'm like, interesting. Savinho. So the point I'm getting at, I was starting to think, is Semenyo going to become that? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think his performance is good. Now, whether the question you're asking me, would we swap it to Cherky if we could? I mean, we'd save some good money. You were just touching on budget earlier on. So we'd save some good money. We'd get a player that looks like it's getting more minutes. And I think his XGI is better as well recently.
Yeah.
So I think we would swap it, but in our positions to use a transfer to change that, I don't think so, Sam. What do you think? You've got free transfers. Are you contemplating moving it across?
Yeah, I am pretty tempted with that extra 1 free transfer, like to use that on Semenyo across to Cherky. Now, Doku's not completely out of my mind, but when I looked at the data, even though the minutes have improved, his data is still miles off of that of Cherky.
Yeah.
Even Semenyo as well is a little bit better as well. So I think I would still be on Cherky potentially if I did make that move. That money saving does help because it frees up a little bit for maybe getting to Gyökeres next week if I fancied it. Maybe it makes a more expensive Palace player an option as well if I wanted to. But the more people I talk to, I'm a little bit like you. I was looking at the forums. I was looking at FPL Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, earlier. And a lot of City fans are basically saying, well, he had a bit of an injury issue against Burnley, which might impact why he was brought off. He didn't train all that often in the build up to Everton, but was still picked to start. Then in the game state they were in, they wanted someone who could chase the game, not just good at pressing. So Semenyo obviously was sacrificed instead of Cherky or Doku, who are more creative assets. So yeah, I'm kind of with you that there's no real need to get rid of him. I think he's still absolutely fine. And a lot of the transfers at the moment are because he just hasn't done the points recently, whereas Cherky, Doku have. And we've seen this a million times before. Points chasing in FPL never really works out. The only thing that's making me more tempted to do it is the fact that even the data supports that Cherky is the better pick right now. The minutes are just as good, if not better. He is playing more centrally on the heat maps as well. You can see it. And then the underlying XGI per 90 is miles better than Semenyo's right now. So I don't feel like it's knee-jerk. I'm just not quite sure whether it's worth the transfer. If I had 5 free transfers and I had no other move to make, I'd make the move. But there might be better opportunities in which to use that transfer over getting rid of an already pretty good Man City pick just to get the very best one. So yeah, would you do it with more free transfers, or would you still?
If I had more transfers, if I had a luxury Sam of say 4 or 5 transfers, I think I would do it. Free up that money, get a player who's playing in the same team. Very good player, Cherky's having a very good debut season. I like watching him. Very involved, and I could see Pep's, utilizing him right in the hub of the team. That's normally a privileged position that Pep gives to anyone that plays in that position. You know that he trusts them. So I would do it. I think for us, I mean, it could have easily been a complete different discussion, Sam. If you saw that side foot volley he had against Everton,
yeah.
If he just say if that went in at the start of the season, that probably would have gone in. At the moment, he's a bit off. We would have had a different conversation. But I think the last 6 games or whatnot, Cherky, if you've gone Cherky and we've gone Semenyo, we have lost out. I haven't counted the points, but we're probably 25, 30 points. It's not great.
Oh yeah.
And that might continue. And these are the things in FPL. Sometimes we try to be patient, but we could just be hemorrhaging points week in, week out. So, but I think in my position, I don't have the luxury of that transfer. I have to grit my teeth, Sam, and hope Semenyo just gets back into it, gets back into form, let's just say.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think it's clear that Pep does value him. He does have him in his preferred starting 11 at the moment. Yeah. It does seem like it was more injury related, fitness related, and hopefully by the time we get to game week 36, he'll be a bit better off. Before we move on, because we'll get on to Chips any second, the turnaround for Man City is not that great either, is it? Because they've also got the FA Cup to deal with the following weekend. So do you have any concerns over rotation for Man City, considering, I mean, if they were like level with Arsenal, obviously the game in hand would still be a factor, but if it was all coming down to goal difference, if they all won each of their games, but now they're officially behind in the title race, it's not in their hands. Do you see in any universe Pep potentially switching the rotation game to the Premier League just to maybe save some legs for the FA Cup final? Or do you still think it's all guns blazing, every match, as long as they're fit, it's just wheel out the same 11 no matter what?
I think so. And I don't think he has the trust in that B team, even though the squad is immaculate. You've seen me, I touched on earlier on how Pep sometimes certain players, once he loses a bit of trust, he just vanish from the starting 11. And I'm not quite sure this City team is good enough to win with their B team. The old City team, I remember the one that was chasing Liverpool, getting 100 points. You had the feeling he could play any team. And
Yeah.
it was, I think this one here, he's managed to stumble on this shape here with the Cherky, Semenyo, and Doku. It looks like it's working. Yes, the Everton result is a big spanner in the works, but I don't think he'll be rotating that much, especially until Arsenal play West Ham. I think that's the kind of make or break. Maybe after that, and even then, Pep is a professional. He's not going to rotate too much. But I do think there must be hope there that West Ham are so desperate they could spring something here. And you have to think like that. So imagine if he started to rotate, jeopardizing his Premier League points, and then Arsenal lose or draw to West. You couldn't recover. That would be too painful mentally. So I don't see that, Sam. Until it's realistically really gone, I think it's full power. Like
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I think any rotation will be purely because the players aren't fit enough to play. It won't for any reason be, or in any universe be because he feels like the league is gone. Even if it goes to the final day and they're 2 points behind,
Agree.
They're still obviously in the fight. And now Arsenal could slip up against Palace. It's possible. So yeah, he's a competitor. He's not going to want to go out without giving it his best shot. I'm completely with you, but I just wanted to give voice to that I've seen in the community a little bit. Now we're going to go on to chip talk. One of us has a chip. Everyone watching or listening to this pod knows it's not me. So Mo, it's very exciting. You've got a chip this game week, which is in the minority. Which chip is it, and how excited are you right now to catch up on some ranks with it?
So I'll answer the first part. So I've got triple captain. And as you can tell, my excitement levels, because I've been really beating up most game weeks, I'm still excited to play the chip. And before the deadline comes, I will get that feeling. But yeah, triple captain. And you touched on earlier on, should I be looking? Haaland's the obvious pick. Haaland in a double game week. Yeah, like how dare you? You just go with him. It's easy. And FPL this season, unfortunately, that's been the correct route, Sam. Where I've tried, believe you me, when we talk maybe a bit more about my team later, I've genuinely tried to roll the dice in certain situations, and it's failed every week. So now I've reached that stage. Shall I just triple captain Haaland and just be easy with it? Or I was thinking of more exciting stuff. O'Reilly, for example, something really different. Playing for City, he's been outstanding. He gets very attacking in certain games. Do I go something like that? Semenyo was in my mind at one stage. Maybe my confidence level's gone down a bit now. Recent. Yeah, I know. So it's left me not in a great situation, because at one stage there was loads of opportunities. Now I'm like, am I going to end up triple captain in Haaland? I have used it before, Sam. I will say this to you. In single game weeks, by the way. I remember when I've had amazing seasons. I didn't even bother worry about it. I used it like on a single game week with Son. I remember one season, Mane. Like it didn't worry me too much. I was more like wanting the fixture. And part of me's thinking, should I triple captain an Arsenal player against Burnley?
Against Burnley, yeah.
Can you imagine? But he's going to be, that could be something different, but he's going to be owned pretty well by then anyway, to be honest. It's not like I would love something very juicy, but I can't see it, Sam. I don't know about you. What do you think? Do you think there's an opportunity for me to go elsewhere, or do I just stick with Haaland?
There is an opportunity, because someone like O'Reilly would tempt me. His ownership will be roughly 80-90% effective ownership this game week, which if it does go your way, and it is possible that Haaland just blanks twice in the double, not likely, but it is possible. Yeah. If City can keep a couple of clean sheets and O'Reilly can bag one return, all of a sudden you've gained an extra 200% on O'Reilly versus most people will at least captain Haaland. His effective ownership will be probably just about north of 200% effective ownership. Yeah. So unless you've triple captained him, you're probably not winning from him anyway. And even if you do triple captain him, you're only getting effectively his raw points as the add-on, because you're getting 300 instead of 200. So with that in mind, I mean, the sensible move, we all know it, is Haaland's the best pick this week. He's the best captain, we'll come on to later. But given that only 29.5% of the top 10K and roughly that in the top 100, 200, 300K as well, because they're all active, will have the triple captain to even play this week, you will get a boost from it. It just wouldn't be as of a groundbreaking boost as you might want from like an O'Reilly, Cherky, Saka next game week. It will just be a modest boost.
Yeah.
But if Haaland scores 20 points across the double, you've gained 20 points on the rest of the crowd.
Exactly.
So it could still be pretty effective. It just won't be one of those like world beating ones where you'll be able to show off about it for years to come. That's all.
Agree. Totally agree. That's what's going through my mind. So I've not made up my mind yet, Sam. I'm still, I think, is it on Haaland at the moment? I've not made up my mind. I've not even activated it. I'm still just thinking in my head, like, what to do with it. Do I go very exciting or do I just leave it on Haaland and just take whatever I can get?
Yeah.
I'm still not sure.
And we'll have a bit more of a chat on captaincy later, whether there are any other options. I think we know it's going to be a shortish-ish section because Haaland just is the best option. But talking about the other chip, so we've mentioned triple captain. I think that will just basically add an extra 40-50% to Haaland's effective ownership this week. So those of us just captaining him probably just lose out a little bit on him. It's the bench boost as well that also probably compounds the issue for those of us without a chip this week, with another 11.5% of the top 10K yet to bench boost. Now that could be an extra 15 to 20 points if they hit it correctly and if it pays off. Now, is that something to worry about? Because what's 10% of a 20-point bench boost? That's like 2 points, right? So are you in any way afraid of going up against the bench boost this week? Or is it just, well, great, they're going to have a good time with an extra 15 to 20 points, but not too much for us to worry about?
I mean, that's a lot of points, Sam. Yeah, if you're doing really well, so the position I'm in, I'm not doing as well as you, or definitely nowhere near Tom. I think if you're in Tom's position, these things come into your mind a little bit because 15, 20 points, you said it like it was nothing. That's a lot. In FPL, 1 point's a lot. 15, 20 points is huge when you're in that shifts, that can shift you quite a bit. So it would be on my mind. I saw a lot of bench boosts this week and I saw the impact of them. It was huge.
Yeah.
Some of the bench, did you see it, Sam? Some of the bench boosts were really juicy. We're talking 20, 22 points. That's a lot of points, that is. That's a lot. That's a lot of points to make up or 3 game weeks. So if you're doing well, without a doubt, it would be in the back of your mind. Like for me personally, because obviously my season isn't going as well. I'm not too stressed about it, but 100%, if I was in those very good positions, I would be thinking, oh man, this could go really bad. If they strike the jack, say you've got a Senesi on the bench, just say random, like that big hole there and a João Pedro already. That's a lot of points, Sam. So yeah, I think it is something to be a little concerned about. Not too much, you can't control it, but to be aware of it, that you could have a good score and still see a red arrow depending where you are. So bear that in mind.
100%. And I think most people with a bench boost or triple captain are likely to use it this game week. So it's probably the mixture of both of them as well, which could make this game week a little bit punishing for those of us, myself included, that don't have a chip active. Luckily, the good news is only 1% of the game have a wild card left to use. About 0.1% in the top 10K have free hit left to use. So we don't really need to discuss those. Those shouldn't be too worrying. But if you're out there and you've got bench boost in particular this week, that could be a huge, huge boost to you. If you can get that one working for you, like you said, Mo, an extra 20 points could be season defining. That could be the difference between 200K or 100K. Potentially, if it goes your way. Same goes for triple captain as well, by the way. It's just a higher proportion of people are going to use it. So I'm quite worried, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that it's going to be a disaster. Just got to hope it goes my way. But yeah, I think triple captain Haaland makes a lot of sense. Most people will probably go there and his ownership will just get a big bump because of it. Right then. So what we usually do, I don't know how familiar you are with this section, but form versus fixtures, we pick out a few players that we haven't really discussed at length so far in the show. I have included one double game weeker from Man City, that is Jeremy Doku, but after him, it's all single game weekers and basically whether or not there are any other interesting picks that we're looking at, not just for this game week, but for the remaining 3 game weeks, and whether or not they're worth our precious transfers with so few left to use. I did want to start off with Doku, and I thought we might hover over him quickly earlier on. We haven't really discussed him yet. As a differential, if you've got that free spot in the Man City midfield, if you've only got 2 City, in fact, as well, or you are open to selling Semenyo, do you see the upside in Doku at the moment? He's obviously getting much better minutes, 2 great goals against Everton. The underlying data is not all that special though, 0.44. How do you read Doku at the moment? Would you put him in the same sort of ballpark as Semenyo and Cherki, or one to avoid potentially?
I've been impressed with him recently. I'm normally being very harsh on him. I like his dribbling. He's got all the athleticism, but I tend to watch him run around, shake for a little bit, and lose the ball. The end product's not that great. But recently, maybe it's his confidence. He's showing what he's capable of. Those shots, just for taking the shot from those positions, tells me now the confidence is there. He's belief in himself, belief from his manager. And yeah, without a doubt, especially someone like me chasing, in fact, the transfers, that's like a perfect move because you're still attacking the same team, one of the best teams in the Premier League, and you're going against, say, Semenyo and Cherki with someone. And I agree. I think his form at the moment is nice. Watching him, he looked unplayable. I mean, Michael Keane should have probably got a red card. So, and that could have changed the game completely. And he got there quickly. You think you can get there? He's rapid. His footwork is lightning. And now it looks like the end product is coming. Maybe it's just recency bias. We've seen those 2 stunners. How often is he going to do that? But I do think this end of the season, the double, then Bournemouth and Villa, I think they're good fixtures for him. I really do. Especially if Man City are still in, if that makes sense. As long as they don't drop no points and they're still in all the way to the last game of the season, Sam. I like it. I really do. Look at the price as well. It's very good. So I'm the perfect manager for that move there. If I had the transfers, I'd risk him. Yeah, I would, Sam. Maybe not if in your position or Tom, where you're doing really well and you're looking at things potentially like ownership and just better data. Then Cherki and even Semenyo would be ahead. But I think Doku is not a bad shout if you're chasing. Yeah.
I'd agree with absolutely everything you say there, mate. So I won't add on too much because I think you were spot on. The only thing I will add on as well to maybe agree with you and reinforce your point is what I've really enjoyed seeing from Doku in recent weeks is his willingness to now start cutting inside. Whereas previously it felt like his instinct was always to take on the man and go around the outside, which he's still very capable of doing. But all of a sudden you do see him cutting back in and getting more central towards goal into those shooting areas from around the edge of the box, which is obviously where some of his recent goals have come from. So I like that in a winger, someone who's happy to not just go outside, but also cut in. And he is more willing to play with both feet now as well. So that's a positive sign. And I think it's probably one that has secured his place in the 11 for Pep, because previously he was functional, but only in one way. Now he's got both elements to his game where Pep can now trust him to also cut inside if he needs him to in a game state situation. So yeah, I'm a fan, and without giving away too much for later on, I think he might be in someone's transfer thinking as well. So we'll leave that there. We'll park that for now and we'll come back to it later on. Next player, Bukayo Saka, who I'm delighted to inform our listeners who aren't for whatever reason watching Arsenal, saying that he got the goal. And now he's come off on 58 minutes and apparently with no injury. I think it was just a planned substitution from what I can tell. 2 other players came off at pretty much the exact same time. So he looks good to go for West Ham, and the minutes are building week on week. It's every week it's an extra 15 minutes on top. On that schedule, he's getting 75 minutes against West Ham, right? And then it's Burnley. That's 90 minutes. It's looking pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Saka... a lot of us forgot about him this season. A combination of injuries, probably wasn't fully fit at one stage, and then they bought Donny Madueke. So maybe we started to forget about him. Recently, since the Newcastle cameo, it's an instant reminder of what this player is, what an unbelievable player he is. He takes Arsenal up to the next level, and he's made, I mean, they couldn't have timed it better to bring him back. Like during this peak part of the season, honestly, what a player! And we saw the potential. I mean, he didn't even play that much minutes last game week. Look what he's capable of. It's the clever. He for me, when I look at Saka, I always see, like a minute ago, I spoke about Doku, all athleticism and stuff. But maybe the part when to release the ball. If he had Saka's brain, then we're talking about Doku's probably like Neymar or someone. He's gone, next level up. And that's what Saka does. He's too clever with the assists and set pieces. And I just think he's coming back at the right time. And for someone like me and you who have Palmer, it's getting more and more difficult to look away. It's getting more difficult to look away from him, Sam. I think he's an excellent pick.
Yeah. I completely agree. I've got such a soft spot for Saka. I triple captained him last year. Did not go well. He got raked down the back of the car by Leif Davis against Ipswich, and it ruined the double game week for me. But I love that man so much. I think he's such a talent. A bit like what I was saying with Doku. He loves dropping inside and cutting in, and he's almost got that trademark finish to the back post, to the back left corner from cutting inside on his left now. Was brilliant at the weekend. Obviously, we haven't seen the match today, but goal came off early, rested up for the weekend, and he's got a decent rest between Tuesday and the game this weekend. So he should be absolutely fine to play. And it does feel like what they've been doing with him is holding him back a little longer than they might have used to, rather than just farming him out for minutes. And just making sure that he's ready to go for this back few matches of the season where it's crunch time. And I think they've timed it perfectly. The data's great. He's got penalty share. What a baller. It's really, really tough to say no to him, especially given the context of what we've seen tonight and him coming off early. I'm very, very tempted to go there this week for Palmer. In fact, I'd almost lock that in now, as long as we get off of this recording and we don't hear Saka's come off with a leg break or something. I think we're good. He's going to be very interesting. Other Arsenal assets that we haven't mentioned: Gyökeres, Rice, Eze. Are there any others at the moment that would take your fancy that you want to briefly reference now?
I think you mentioned already the two, Eze and Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres, he's had a lot of stick this season, but I think recently he's been very good. And the only thing really that's probably stopped me going there earlier is I know how much Arteta loves Havertz as well. I know he picked up a knock and that changed it, but because Havertz is a good player as well. But I think Gyökeres would have been even a better FPL asset if we knew there was no Havertz, because he's been good. I watched before we went live, I was watching the first half, and the way he occupies the back four, he's growing in stature in that team, and he'd be a good FPL pick without a doubt. But his minutes maybe still worry me. And if I had to choose between him and Saka, I'd go Saka 100%. Eze's really nice, and fair play to the people that went there and reaped the rewards recently. But he's another one. Odegaard's, I think, fit and training now, Sam. So I'm not sure.
Odegaard came on for Eze today.
On
the 59th minute. I was just checking that to the side eye there. Yeah, so Gyökeres has played the 90, all 5 subs made. Eze came off at the same time as Saka, presumably to make sure he was fit for the weekend. Same goes for Calafiori, by the way. Eze, I really like it as a pick. The only problem, like you say, is Odegaard exists and he's going to get minutes. Havertz has stayed on the bench, though. So I wonder what that means for the weekend with Gyökeres. I'd be interested to try and read ahead for that one. I think if you knew Gyökeres was playing 90 for the next 3 game weeks, he'd be a great pick. But I'm a little bit more concerned, like you are, it sounds, about his minutes over Saka's, for instance, just because Havertz is very well liked by Arteta and he's back on the bench today. So we know he's close. No point going there defensively this week outside of Gabriel. Obviously, we've both got him, but would you double up this week or just wait for later on?
You've got the transfers, Sam, that you can never go wrong with the Arsenal defense. I've already seen the goalkeeper's already won the Golden Boot and there's still 3 games to go. I mean, they are relentless. They're good. They sometimes clicking up DEFCONs. Clean sheets, normally always the best predicted clean sheet odds. Arsenal, no matter who they play, they're just the best coached team defensively. Full stop. And so if you want to go extra Arsenal defenders, I mean, in a double game week, you'd like to think you'd make sure you have triple City and maybe a Palace defender ahead of another Arsenal defender, but you can't go wrong. Nothing wrong with that. You could easily see them winning 2-0 against West Ham. Even though I said earlier on, West Ham are desperate, they're fighting for their lives, but Arsenal are just, when they're on it, when they're tuned, and I think they're just coming back into it now for the remainder at the end of the season, because at the start of the season, I used to watch them as one of the few teams Sam I watch, and I'm like, they're not conceding. Where I watch other games, even City, who can be amazing on their day, you always have a feeling they could, with Arsenal, no. One of the few teams I watch, and I'm like, this clean sheet is
absolute ironclad. Yeah, it's completely locked in. And when they're on song, and it does feel like they're back on song now, it's very hard to get around them or even create a chance, full stop. So I completely agree. The only thing that puts me off an Arsenal defensive move this week is that there are, like, obviously we've got the Palace defenders, we've got Man City defenders with double, we've got Brighton defenders with a nice fixture at home to Wolves. It just feels like it's not a necessity to double up on them this week. Next week onwards, though, I think triple Arsenal for a lot of people, whether you go double attack or double defense, is just an absolute winner. So I just make sure that you've got that in mind. If you're making a lot of moves this week, just give yourself that route to make sure you can get to the Arsenal triple up, or at least double up that you want for next week. Now, moving on, we've got 3 more midfielders on this graphic. Actually, we'll zoom through because we're not running late, but we're over an hour, so I don't want to get too bogged down in this section. Okafor, Szoboszlai, and Bruno G. I want to start with Okafor, who's been in the most ridiculous form, considering the minutes aren't even that great. Where has this come from? When did he become the Leeds player that we all needed to buy? And is it too late? Have we missed the boat, or is there still an opportunity there?
I mean, Leeds have really impressed me, Sam. You probably know more about Leeds because obviously being a Southampton fan, you've seen them more. Start of the season, I didn't see this Leeds turning up. Second half of the season, they've been out. They're there on merit. I looked at the points from the last 6 games and stuff. They're like one of the most informed teams. They've been outstanding. Now, Okafor's one did come out of the blue. A lot of us were, when we wildcarded in, like me in 32, we're looking at triple Leeds, but I considered him, but I wasn't too sure, if I'm totally honest with you. So I don't want to say in hindsight, I thought he was going to be the one. There's other attackers like Aronson, and a lot of us went DCL, but he has impressed me. He really has impressed me in those performances. But maybe fortunate, Sam, with those minutes and those returns. I mean, can that really continue? And I think you asked me, have we missed out? We probably have. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think so as well. I obviously fantastic returns for any owners. Very well done. And you saw something that, quite frankly, I didn't, to be fair. Obviously a good player, but I didn't think the minutes would be good enough. And the data at the time wasn't fantastic either, but he's just hit form at the right time. Fair play. The points are great. I'm not going to personally go there now because the fixtures are okay, but probably not good enough to be going after a player who I'm guessing will get around 65, 70 minutes a match. So I'm quite similar to you there. We'll come back to Welbeck in a bit because he's obviously in a different position. Szoboszlai, the only reason I brought him into this is because there is a universe where these next 3 fixtures are actually pretty perfect for him, especially if Salah's not back, which would be a disaster. I would love it. I'm sure you would too, if Mo was back for game week 38, so we could potentially have a route to playing him one last time in our teams, and so he gets a farewell, which he richly deserves. But there is a universe where these 3 next game weeks are decent fixtures. Chelsea are still conceding for fun. Villa after that as well might have an eye on Europe still. And then Brentford, who knows where they're going to be at that point, all 3 of which Szoboszlai is going to get 90, and he might be on penalties as well as all the set pieces as well. Is he someone that's going to be on your radar over the next couple of game weeks?
Me personally, no, but for all of the reasons you've said, Sam, he's not a bad pick. I mean, those fixtures, they look great there. They're not the worst, like you said. Chelsea struggling, Villa might be in the back of their mind, similar to what we spoke about with Crystal Palace. And then Brentford, if it's at Anfield, last game of the season, especially some of the big megastars are leaving, some legends, Liverpool's going to want to put in a performance. So I like it. I'm a big fan of Szoboszlai, very good player. And even if he plays in a double pivot or the right back, he's got that engine and legs to get to the danger zone. And he takes set pieces, unreal free kick taker. And
Mm.
Penalties, maybe him and Isaac. I really don't know the situation there. I do think at one stage it looked like it was him if Salah was going to take them. A fully fit Isaac, I do think will draw a card.
Yeah.
I do think so. Yeah, I think someone like that, when you're a top bracket striker, I do think he'll be like, no, I'm taking the penalties. But
And he's
I'm
had a
making an
rough
assumption
season,
there.
hasn't he, as well? So he probably wants to get going.
Exactly. But Szoboszlai now almost does seem like a very luxurious move, like to go there. If you've got a spot to fill and you really do have 5 transfers, or you're one of the 1%ers that has a wild card, you could go there. Like, yeah, I prefer to have him in my team now ahead of, say, Tavernier. I know it's different price points, but just as an example, I would prefer to have him taking up a position there, Sam. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. Oh, what do you think of it? What do you think of him?
I'm very similar to you. I think if you've got that luxury move, probably not this week, because again, we're very much eyeing up the double game week, and we've got transfers to use on either double game weekers or Arsenal players more often than not. But yeah, I can see a universe from next week on, especially if we get bad news on Salah that he won't make it for Brentford as well. He could be a nice route into that Liverpool attack. But yeah, it feels luxury to me, and as does a Newcastle player. So I put in Bruno G. You could look elsewhere, maybe Anthony Gordon if you think the minutes improve. But with Forest away, West Ham at home, Fulham away, quite a few people have been mentioning him, which is why he's sort of snuck in here. It's just, I'm just not that sold on him personally. I don't know how you feel, but yeah.
I like him, Sam.
Yeah, you're in?
I like him a lot. I think he's a good pick. And I'll tell you why. First of all, apart from he's Newcastle struggling, no problem. I think the fixtures are decent. They're not great. I know we got them green there, but Nottingham Forest shown recently how deadly they've been. West Ham fighting for their life. So they're not perfection. But especially if Gordon, and it sounds like Gordon's Newcastle's career is finished now, whether it's injury or it looks like he's very close to getting his move. They're probably just already planning for the next season to why use Gordon, and why that's important. It's penalties. So you add penalties. So you add penalties to Bruno Guimaraes, who's a very influential player. Yes, he'll pick up the yellow card once in probably every game, but he in their attack, he is pivotal. Such a good player. So I actually think on this chart, if you're chasing, I think Doku and Bruno Guimaraes are probably the best picks. Saka, I'm not going to mention him as everyone knows about Saka's like one of the best players in the Prem, so forget him. But out of the bunch there, I like Bruno Guimaraes. I know Newcastle are not appealing to you at the moment, probably, Sam. That's why you've not considered him. I think that's not a bad pick, you know.
Nice. I like it. You've actually sold me a little bit on him there. So penalties as well. Yeah, if Gordon doesn't get back in, penalties up again. Forest, West Ham, Fulham. Fulham are very on the beach as well, I must say. Whilst obviously West Ham are really fighting for their lives, Forest are pretty much safe. But Fulham, that could be a hell of a fixture for him last game of the season. And he's not going to have much ownership. Yeah, you know what? Came into this not really thinking much of it. I could be sold. That's a very interesting final couple of game weeks pick there. So yeah, thank you very much, Mo. That is one piece of advice I will be taking with me. Right then. So this bit will be quick. 1 to 1 week punts. Now, obviously, Mo, if you're not already aware, Tom and I run through the season. We're only allowed to pick any player once all season, and we get the points from that player that week. We get jokers. That's effectively captaincy or triple captaincy. So we double the points. Not too shocking. We're actually both picking the same player for the first time this year. We're both going with Haaland because it's the best possible opportunity to use him. So yeah, jobs are good and going with Haaland. And with that, let's talk about captaincy. We've already kind of mentioned the triple captaincy for you and where you might be thinking. So I don't think we need to dwell on it too much. And spoiler alert, Haaland is the best captain this week. But depending on how much you're chasing, you might be interested in maybe going differential. Even if you don't have a triple captaincy, you might be looking at another captain and playing against the odds for a bit of upside. I've included Cherky and O'Reilly on the graphic. Would you say those are the next two in line that you'd be interested in, or are there any others that you would potentially throw into the mix?
I think if you're picking from the double game week players this week, or especially Manchester City, I think you've picked the best 3. We touched on Doku. Semenyo probably not now. You wouldn't have the confidence to captain him or even triple captain him. I think this is the best three. I'd agree with what you picked here. If you're flying or just want to play sensible FPL and don't worry about, you just pick the player that scores the most points every week. You just go with Haaland. It's not rocket science. After that, you're in the realms of O'Reilly's very tempting. Imagine one clean sheet, an assist, or a goal, and that might sound ludicrous, but in Man City, the way he plays, that's viable.
Yeah,
100% is viable with someone like him, as long as he stays fit. And he had that little concern a couple of weeks back. He's a really juicy pick, and I will say I am considering him. And Cherky, for all the reasons we touched on, Sam, just a solid pick. His minutes are good. His data's very good. Maybe that is the pick this week. I mean, I don't have him, so I can't even consider him as a triple captain for me. I don't have him, but I think that's not a bad shout. I think you picked the best three there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm quite tempted, which might surprise you given my rank, but I am quite tempted to look away from Haaland this week because the way I'm reading it, I'm 107k. I'm about 3 or 4 points outside of the top 100k, which isn't a lot, but I think I'm up against it this week anyway. So I'm probably going to be 10 points back if things go relatively average this week, with very few opportunities to go majorly differential. So I wonder if this might be secretly the opportunity for me to swing against the masses and maybe try and just lock myself into the top 100k before it's too late to actually gain that rank. Obviously, Haaland is the better pick, and 8 times out of 10, he will outscore the two of them.
Yeah.
But can you see City potentially keeping clean sheets in at least one of those 2 matches? Sure. Can you see O'Reilly getting 1 attack and return in those 2 matches? Absolutely possible.
Yeah.
If Haaland only bags 1 across the double, then that's O'Reilly beating Haaland. Cherky, similar. He could easily get a couple of returns, but I think without the clean sheets there, it feels like whatever Cherky does, Haaland's likely to be involved in those goals as well.
Yeah.
Whereas with O'Reilly, you've got the extra edge with the clean sheets as well, which might just be psychological, but at least you're kind of hoping for 2 different scenarios. Whereas with Haaland and Cherky, they're very much going up against each other. So yeah, I am actually quite tempted, which seems weird, and I will probably end up being a coward and just going with Haaland and hoping that the ownership's not as high as I think it will be. But yeah, it is genuinely quite tempting.
I think personally, and it depends on your risk appetite and your personality and how you play. Now, me personally, I advocate those moves. And when I do my channel videos, I always say the sensible move, the good move. That's why I'm saying now Haaland, not trying to be too clever, but there are times, obviously, the more you veer from the perfect move, the more risk you introduce. And I'm a perfect example this season, Sam, where they've not worked.
Yeah.
I've tried it. I don't want to put a downer on it because there are people that have rolled the dice and it has worked out for them. But I've genuinely given it my best shot to try play catch up, and I've been punished non-stop. So it goes to show you it is difficult. Haaland, I look at Haaland every week as a goal minimum. So probably 2 goals as a minimum without him even doing anything special. That's how I see that's the beast he is. But O'Reilly, without a doubt, is tempting. And I do like that you're actually considering it because I think, I mean, it's up to you, Sam, if you're content with where you are. Everyone's got different goals or they enjoy FPL differently, Sam. You might, you know what I mean? Some people love it that they're in the top 100k. Some people don't care about that. They want more. Yeah. So it depends. It's all up to you. But I do like the O'Reilly pick, and you might see me there with a triple captain. It's a big possibility.
Oh, that would be lovely. I'd love to see that. I'd be cheering you on the sidelines, even if I do chicken out of it myself. I would love to see that pay off for you. You will be laughing about that for years to come, I'm sure.
If it was to work,
but I mean, it's what FPL is all about, right? If you can get one of those to work, you get the bragging rights for years, and you'll always remember it as the week that you triple captained a defender and it paid off against one of the best strikers of all time. So yeah, fair play. I mean, look, the odds are I will probably just be a chicken and go with Haaland in the end, but I do want to give proper consideration to thinking differential, because I am aware that if I want to sneak inside the top 100k, I might need to take one calculated gamble at some point. And this is a relatively decent time to consider it because there's more upside with this gamble than there would be with any others. So yeah, I'm thinking about it. But yeah, no one should be surprised to know that the top 3 picks in our heads are all Man City picks.
Yeah.
Any single game weekers in your mind? I don't think there are in my mind.
I don't
Bruno,
think so.
Sunderland, it's no.
No, I'm looking at the fixtures now to double check. Not really. No, I think no. It's Manchester City. No, you have to go Manchester City. Yeah. If it was Arsenal versus Burnley this week, maybe we could put a little narrative together. But I think I think you have to go with City.
Yeah, I'm with you there, mate. Yeah, 100%. And with that, I think we are on to our teams, and we'll spend a little bit longer than usual on this because I know we've got Tom's voice note, and we want to run through both of ours independently. But we do all have pretty similar teams. I'm starting off this week, so with 3 free transfers, 0.4 in the bank. Currently got the double Brighton defence, so Verbruggen and Van Heck, Gabriel away at West Ham, O'Reilly in the back line completing the back 3, and then into the midfield. I've currently got the 5 of Semenyo, Palmer, who can effectively just be now known as Bukayo Saka, Bruno Fernandes, Pascal Gross, who's been actually brilliant in the times that I've had to play him, and then Tavernier, who's lost penalties, so not so buzzing about him. Then up front, Calvert-Lewin and Haaland, currently with the armband, and on the bench, João Pedro, Hill, and Strauch. Now, going into tonight, the current thinking of my latest video on my own channel as well was along the lines of Palmer to Saka seems likely, and I was waiting for tonight, see how he got through that. Looks like he's fine, and he's going to have a nice few days off before West Ham. So I think I can make that move. And then the final 2 were going to be Strauch to a Crystal Palace defender. Cambo would be the cheaper option, and then I wouldn't need to make the Semenyo to Cherky move. Or I could do Strauch to Munoz or Lacroix. I think I can just about do Lacroix anyway, but it does leave me like very tight on money, and that for future moves could be handy. So that leaves me with the option of, I say upgrading, it's technically downgrading Semenyo to Cherky to free up a bit more cash later on. That could come in handy. But I don't know, the things that we've discussed on the pod today do give me pause for thought that maybe Semenyo can possibly stay. Possibly not a transfer I need to make. And having 2 next week would be really nice. Gives me a bit of flexibility over Arsenal. Gives me the opportunity to go for someone like Bruno G in game week 37 or 38 if I wanted to. Just gives that little bit of flexibility to take a punt if I wanted to. So I am wondering if you're spot on with just hold on to Semenyo and cross your fingers that he does find his way back into form. But yeah, I'll at least make those 2 transfers, I think. So Palace defender in, switch it to a 4-4-2, and probably Tavernier comes off. There's an argument to maybe take off Calvert-Lewin instead, but he is on penalties. Tavernier, you can't say the same thing. Yeah. Even João Pedro, arguably, or Hill could start. But that's the way I've currently got it. And on that note, I think given your team's so similar, we can discuss the benching order and all of that through the lens of your team, because you might have a different order to me.
Yes. Well, just to touch on your one's a bit more exciting because you've got the potential to, if you one more free transfer, and if you move to Semenyo, it opens up you can get all the Crystal Palace defenders. So that's where it's a little bit more juicy for you, Sam. So I can see why your mind's thinking. Where for me, if I do, say, Palmer to Saka, I've only got 0.2 million. I can only buy the cheap defenders. I've got no money. So Munoz can't even be a potential juicy option unless I'm talking -4 or I don't get Saka. So you see what I mean? Where your one, you've got a bit more thinking. My one almost picks itself. It's a cheap Palace defender and Saka comes in for Palmer. So I haven't really considered anything else. If I'm totally honest with you, Sam, I mean, unless you can see anything else, I haven't really. I've got João Pedro starting. I think Liverpool, obviously, I'm a Liverpool fan, and Liverpool, we're conceding chances he saw against United. And João Pedro looks like one of the few Chelsea players that's still actually playing football. You saw the stunning goal he scored. He was unfortunate to not have 2. It was a ridiculous goal, I know.
Yeah.
So I've got no issue starting him. God, I'm looking at my team. I've got triple Chelsea. I wish I had 5 transfers, but
Don't worry, it'll be double after tonight. It's fine.
Exactly. And yeah, my money's tight. So yeah, Palmer to Saka, and then I think like you, Strout to whoever I can afford the best one.
Yeah.
Was it Richards or Canvar? One of those two potentially.
Mhm.
Now, currently, you spoke about benching dilemmas. I currently got Tavernier starting, and this is the thing I've had this season, and it's really punished me. Definitely, that one's not bad luck all the time. I can cry about bad luck. It's that one there. I don't think I've paid enough respect to centre backs versus mid-range midfielders, which we'd class Tavernier in. I just love Tavernier. I bought him in, and at one stage he was dodging points like anything. I don't know if you remember Sam.
Yeah.
Post like I mean, unreal points dodging. So I've kept the faith in him, and it's not there. So this week, I might swap him if I'm doing. Yeah, it's a possibility. I do, like you said, a 4-3-3 maybe. Swap him for Hill, or if I'm bringing in. Actually, what I'm talking about, if I'm bringing in a Crystal Palace defender, he has to start. So yeah, and drop Tavernier, drop the both Bournemouth boys actually.
Yeah, and you'd drop Tavernier, go 4-3-3 with Richards or Cambo in that spot instead, right?
Yeah.
Got you. Makes sense. And then presumably triple captain active, chuck it on O'Reilly for fun, right?
I mean, people might not believe me, but that I'm saying, some people just say stuff for the sake of it. I will say to you, I captained Palmer in the double game week. I haven't recovered from that. He got 2 points, remember? And then he didn't play the second game. The week after, how brutal is that? So I've tried, and I've been properly beaten up. The week after that, I went for King Mohamed Salah. I mean, this guy's missed 8 games in 10 years. He came off before 68th minute. I captained him that week, and I got 1 point. I was like, really? Come on. So that shows you, we're talking about O'Reilly captain and all of this fun stuff.
Yeah.
This is the reality of what can happen. As long as you're prepared to own it, the repercussions of what can happen. Because Haaland's playing 90 minutes, penalties. He's just one of the best strikers in the world. And it just reminds you of the risk. I went with an inferior, proven Premier League, best FPL asset ever. And he got me 1 point. So
yeah. It's the gambler's fallacy, isn't it? You always hear in the community all the ones that work out, and it's like, oh yeah, take the risk, it can pay off, you get the glory. But 9 times out of 10, you're right. It's risky for a reason that it more often than not doesn't pay off. And Haaland is clearly the sensible call. But yeah, it depends how much you want to just throw the dice at this point, I suppose, in for a penny, in for a pound, all of that good stuff. And look, it's a good team. It's very similar to mine, so I kind of have to say that. But especially with a chip active, I would expect a strong week from you, mate. So yeah, good luck.
So thank you.
And finally, we've got another special voice note. Here is Tom.
So yeah, as mentioned, free transfers this week for me. I definitely need to get rid of Palmer. The guy's been an absolute liability. And I'll probably replace him with Saka, notwithstanding what happens tonight. And I've got free transfers to use, and I just feel like Semenyo, there's a possibility here, and there's a very strong one that I crab him over to probably Doku actually. And the reason for that is just to kind of hope that there's a few gains there, because there's going to be Semenyo Diveras, there's going to be Turkey early adopters, and there's also going to be kind of the late fairy tale story of Jeremy Doku. I feel like he's the man at the moment. I quite fancy that, to be honest. But that Crystal Palace game is obviously a bit of a worrying one because it comes after the cup final. We don't know what's going to happen in that. Maybe it's a bit of a wasted transfer. I don't know. I'm just kind of shooting for the moon a little bit with that one, and I might do that. It leaves me with one problem, which is that I don't know whether I want to get Gyökeres as well and triple up on Arsenal with a double Arsenal attack, or if I leave it next week. I have enough money to move Calvert-Lewin up to Gyökeres. I don't actually see Leeds doing that well at Spurs. I think it's all kind of starting to come together, the bits and pieces I saw over the last few weeks under the Zerbi. I don't know, I'm just a bit reticent to have Calvert-Lewin, so I do quite fancy moving up to Gyökeres. The only thing is that next week, for Palace, they've got Brentford, and I wonder if Thiago is going to be chasing Golden Boot. I wonder whether I might buy him. But if I keep João Pedro, then next week I can move him for Thiago. So yeah, there's lots of possibilities, lots of things I could possibly do. It's whether I do 2 free transfer. I feel like the Palmer to Saka, Semenyo to Doku are the ones I'm really settled on. It's just whether I add the third transfer and go for Gyökeres. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be related now and could be very, very quickly dated by the Champions League outcome tonight. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Take that on. The team overall very easily set up with triple Brighton against Wolves, Gabriel obviously in there. All those wildcard 32 favourites all still kicking around. I think I will keep João Pedro this week and keep him over Calvert. I think he was the only Chelsea player who gave a crap in that game. And Liverpool as well, eye off the ball. Chelsea got something to play for. Admittedly, not the best Chelsea team I've ever seen, but hey ho, I feel like João Pedro could get something at Liverpool. So yeah, I probably will keep him. See how we do. Hopefully, I'll be back next week. I think there's a good chance I will be. Obviously, not drinking. It'll be the alcohol-free beers for me for a little while. Yeah, looking forward to listening back to this podcast and speak to you next week.
Well, there was Tom. As I week on week have been jealous of his team value, and it's finally paying dividends for him in a big way. If he's able to afford that double Arsenal attack this week, then that could be hugely beneficial for him. I think I'd be interested to know whether he was still as keen on Gyökeres, given that he played 90 tonight. But I'd imagine, knowing Tom, he will still be relatively keen, thinking that there'll be a decent amount of rest for Gyökeres between now and the match on, I think it's Sunday for Arsenal. So they've got a decent turnaround. And of course, they have progressed in the Champions League as well. So they are still fighting on both fronts. So congratulations to Tom for yet another reason, because he is, of course, an Arsenal fan too. But yeah, his team is very nicely set up. Sounds like he's making relatively similar moves, with the asterisk that Jeremy Doku seems to be very appealing to him and seems to be the one that he's going to go for over Cherki in that Semenyo spot. So yeah, I hinted at it earlier. Doku might be on the cards for Tom, and knowing his picks so far this season, it looks pretty likely to pay off if things are continuing for him. So long may it progress, and 25k in his sights, hopefully by the end of the season, would be lovely to see. And of course, we'd love to have him back next week. So we'll wish him all the best for now. Before we finish up the pods, Mo, what do you think of Gyökeres for this game week now that we know he's played 90 tonight? Is that something you'd be, if you had the money, and I know neither of us are blessed with that kind of cash, would that be on the radar for you at all?
I think after the 90 minutes, I'd be slightly concerned, without a doubt. And if I had to prioritize it, it just make me pick Saka even more if it was between those two.
Yeah.
But you've seen, even in 45 minutes, is he a better pick? 45 minutes is probably still better pick than Calvert-Lewin, probably maybe even João Pedro. The way Arsenal are playing at the moment, the motivation for the league, and they're really buoyant. Things like Champions League final to look forward to. If they beat West Ham, that's probably the key game as well.
Yeah.
It's not a bad option. It's not a bad option. I agree. It could go. This might sound really silly after the weekend and he's on the bench, but if I've got the luxury transfers, I probably would still go there. Yeah. And if you don't get this weekend, you'll be ready for Burnley.
Yeah.
So
and
you're one step ahead.
Yeah.
You'll be one step ahead. And Arsenal, you'd like to think, especially if obviously game state, if Arsenal get the early goal. Everyone looks at Arsenal, I do as well at times, a very defensive team. But if the reality is, if they score early, they can destroy Burnley. So yeah, it's not a bad pick, but the 90 minutes is a little one in the back of the head, though, Sam.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
On the bench tonight might have put him off. I don't know. But yeah, either way, Gyökeres against Burnley seems like a sure thing, given he is a flat track bully. I think did he get a couple against them earlier on in the season before he got injured? I think. Might be misremembering that. But yeah, either way, Tom knows what he's doing, and if he's going double Arsenal attack, I'd back him to score a few this weekend, knowing how well he's seeing and reading these things at the moment.
I like Tom's Doku pick as well. That tells me he's playing with that flow. He's having a good season. He's pretty chilled. When FPL's going well, I find it's so easy.
Yeah, you're confident with it. You don't overthink things.
It's a game you can play just like that, and it just looks easy. when it's difficult, even I'll give you an example. So the situation that I'm in, I'm even scared removing Palmer because I'm thinking, I trust my luck. I'm
Yeah.
going to remove him. He's going to score against Liverpool. Where really, Chelsea haven't scored for like 8 games or something. But that's the kind of thing that goes through your mind. But when you're doing well, like you said, forget even almost all the data and whatnot to support your decisions. It's just, you just see the simplicity in FPL. And sometimes that's enough. But whenever I've had good seasons, I find FPL so easy. This season, FPL so difficult. It's like I know everything, and yet I can't pick the right players.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's decision paralysis, isn't it? Because you're absorbing or taking in so much information. By the end of the game week, you don't know which way to turn because you've heard conflicting reports on everything. Every data point, everything you're thinking about has been overthought to the nth degree. I completely relate to your Palmer point as well, because Palmer to Saka just seems like the most obvious transfer in the world right now. But there is something in the back of my mind that's like, but Palmer's on penalties. He'll probably get 90 minutes. Liverpool haven't been good defensively. You just never know. But even with all of that, the obvious thing is Arsenal are better. Saka's flying, and they're up against West Ham, who are a relegation threatened side. Liverpool very much are not. Yeah, I think there's something to be said for getting in the flow and not overthinking the decisions. When you're playing well, like Tom is, you play with your gut a bit more because you trust it more. And I think you can just lean into that. Yeah.
And you've backed, a lot of your decisions are correct. Now, we know FPL is such a, no, evil's the wrong word, harsh, can be very harsh. So at the start of the season, I was picking a very, I'd say a good team, good team on paper, data, eye test, everything I could possibly use, all the information, and it was still going wrong. I'd say from game week 12 onwards, my type of personality, I start risking more, okay? Because I'm already desperate of where I am, where maybe some people, like I pod with Praz, he will be blind. The previous game weeks or rank useless to him. Every week's like this. It's a very clever way, very, it's a mature way almost of playing FPL, where me, I'm already in catch-up mode, where it's only game week 12. So it means I'm taking more risks. I'm getting things much more wrong. Then I'm getting more desperate. Every decision becomes more difficult. Then you start, you put yourself in a difficult position. I can't say the whole, it's game week 30, 5? I can't say all season's bad luck. Some of it has been at the start. And then after that, I've started to falter. And it's been one of those seasons, Sams, where little 50-50s have been punished severely.
Hard, yeah.
Oh, sometimes you get seasons where you can make a decision, and the repercussions are not too bad. This season, though, for me personally, I'm saying the repercussions they've been brutal, and it can happen. I've been playing FPL a long time, so I have seen it. This is not a one-off. I've had it before, and it's a difficult place to be in when you're playing FPL like that.
Yeah, because you almost double down as well. Like when one thing goes against you, you're like, well, now I need to catch up on that.
That's it.
So I'll take a slightly bigger risk, and then a slightly bigger risk, and it just gets to the point where you're taking huge swings every single week, and you're losing more than you're winning. So you just get into a bigger and bigger hole. Yeah, mate, that almost exact identical thing happened to me last season, and it has happened to me before as well. It's nice when it goes the opposite way, and then one thing cascades into a better thing and a better thing and a better thing. And it all comes from like one decision from the start of the season or something. So yeah, I mean, as we wrap up the pod, I guess the best learning that we can have is get off to a good start and just let the good times roll from there and get in the flow early, right?
Without a doubt. I mean, everyone, as I said, I've seen managers, no excuses. I had an interview with the world number 1, Eric, or on my channel, and he had a terrible first game week. A wild card second game. So the point I'm getting at, I don't want to just use that as an excuse. Loads of managers will have a stinky start to the season and still I just couldn't get back on track. So it doesn't mean having a great start, of course, makes your life easier. Who wouldn't? But there's multiple things I could say to you, Sam, about this season, but I don't want to, we'll be here for another 3 hours of things like chips and other stuff. But yeah, the point you made is the best point. If you do start nice, it kind of removes a bit of pressure, a bit more. You can just enjoy it a little bit more. That's all I will say to you. It doesn't guarantee you do well, not at all. FPL can easily punish you.
100%. Yeah, it can bite you in the weeks that you least expect it, but equally it can reward you as well. And I think on that note, it's a great time to wrap up the pod. And honestly, mate, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but Tom needs to edit this, so I don't want to go on for too long because he does have other things going on in his life at the moment. So with that in mind, thank you all so much for listening and for watching. We have been Who Got the Assist. You can find us on Blue Sky at Who Got the Assist, all written out one word, FPL Pricey for me. On X, it's WGTA_FPL. Again, FPL Pricey for me. And on YouTube, it's Who Got the Assist. Again, all written out one word. And I'm over there at FPL Pricey. Now, Mo, where can we find you?
Trophy FPL on YouTube and on Blue Sky and X.
Yep.
Whatever, yeah. All the social medias, I think they're all the same. Trophy FPL, yeah. So
Trophy FPL,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We'll add a little note in the show notes, in the description if you've not got any of those bang on, and there's an underscore in there or somewhere. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I checked before it was Trophy FPL, certainly on X. And yeah, do check him out on YouTube as well. He's putting out some great stuff on there too. So I highly recommend it. If you did enjoy the pod, but also enjoyed Mo, please go and do subscribe to him wherever you can. Give us a follow on the social channels as well. Give the pod a 5-star rating wherever you're listening. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe if you're new around here. All of those things do really help us out. Thank you so much for coming on, Mo. We really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'll have you again on in the future. And I look forward to chatting to you again offline too, as well as online. I hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it. Thank you very much, Sam. It's a pleasure talking football and FPL with you. And thanks, Tom. Taking a day off today, little part-timer, but but congratulations, Tom. And thank you for having me on. Yeah, really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem at all, mate. Well, we hope we assisted you and look forward to game week 36. Tom should be back with us for next week, and I'm sure you'll all join me in wishing him a huge congratulations once again and all the best. Thanks all. WGTA will see you either next Monday or Wednesday, as I'm off to the playoff semi-finals to watch Southampton against Middlesbrough next Tuesday. Sorry, Tom, I haven't told you that yet. We'll chat about it, I promise. But anyway, on that note, for now, goodbye all, and we hope we assisted you.
Oh, it's a goal. Who got the assist? Who got the assist?